Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the process of this realistic lips drawing. This video is a bit longer because the drawing is pretty detailed, but it's a great process to watch if you want to learn or improve a range of different drawing skills like shading and blending and creating highlights. So let's get going. To get the basic proportions, grab an HB pencil and start by sketching a horizontal line. Notice it's at a slight angle, going downwards. Now, intersect with a vertical line. And small lines on each end. Now connect these lines with diagonal lines to form a kind of kite or diamond shape. A few more lines to mark here. And connect the top lines. Now I'm lightly sketching out the basic outlines of the top lip with HB pencil. These are now all curved lines, as smooth and as rounded as possible. This is the opening of the lips. Now the lower lip, using the guidelines as a rough guide. Keep adjusting until it looks how you want. I'm drawing curved lines based on these guidelines at the top. You can erase the guidelines now. Notice how, even though the guidelines were straight, all the lines in the lips are curved. Generally, avoid any straight lines in the lips to create an organic, natural look. Now I'm sketching some basic details such as areas of highlights. These highlights are a major feature of this drawing. Still using HB pencil. These are areas of light reflection, which you can see in the finished drawing. It's these that give the glossy look to the lips. These are really just random shapes, and they appear at areas where the light reflects off the lips. Keep these light for now. We'll darken everything later. If you look at the finished drawing closely, you'll see that the striking effect of these lips is partly because of the contrast between light and dark. These highlight areas include quite a few thin areas of highlight, separated by very dark areas of shadow. This kind of looks like a letter M. This is going to be kept white as a highlight area, with the in-between bits very dark. With a detailed, realistic drawing like this, it's really valuable to pay attention to the tiny details. Whether you're using a reference photo or just your imagination. It can take a bit of thought, but it really helps in terms of understanding the way we can create the effect of light and shadow in a drawing. The dark areas between these highlights are folds and shadows in the lip surface. The highlights are areas that are raised and illuminated by the light. This is the opening in the center of the lips. We'll darken it more later. This is just a first layer of shading. See how the lips are already starting to take on a more three-dimensional feel, even with just some basic shapes and a small amount of shading. I'm doing a light shading layer on the drawing with HB pencil. We'll do a few layers of shading later, so keep this layer light. Aim for a smooth, consistent layer. I've created a flat edge to the pencil point so that there is a larger, smooth, flat surface to the pencil edge. This is much better for shading. Avoid using a sharp point on the pencil as it won't achieve a smooth layer. To keep the flat edge to the pencil tip, it's necessary to hold it in a pretty consistent position, so the same bit is always touching the paper. So avoid turning it around in your hand too much. I'm shading all around, leaving the highlight areas I drew. Notice how I'm darkening the shading on some of the edges of the highlights. This helps accentuate them. It also creates a striking contrast between light and dark. These small highlights between the lips are quite distinctive, so try to include those when drawing realistic lips. You can experiment with holding the pencil. Just find a way which feels comfortable and enables you to do smooth and consistent strokes. Here, I'm holding it very lightly and I'm not really pushing down very much, just letting the weight of the pencil do most of the work. Keep working your way round, keeping a nice consistent shading layer. Notice the long highlight on the top of the upper lip here. I'm keeping this white. I'm gradually adding a few of the lines and folds. I like to shade the edges of the dark lines. This creates the effect of contour. I'm gradually building more shadow to increase the three-dimensional contour effect. This is a dry paintbrush. It's great for gently blending the graphite. Blending each layer as we go along helps create a really smooth final result. Now 2B pencil to begin darkening the lines and adding some more shading. I'm still using a flat edge for shading, but I'm turning the pencil and using the sharp point for any thin lines. The opening between the lips is the darkest area. This 6B black aquarelle pencil is perfect for creating a really dark effect, even darker than 6B or 9B graphite pencil. It's very hard to erase though, so take your time. Now more shading with 2B pencil. Now I'm using 4B pencil to darken further. This is the softest pencil I'll be using for this drawing. Notice how the darkest lines are directly adjacent to the white highlights, with the shading transitioning away, outwards. With a drawing like this, it's really a case of a bit here and a bit there, gradually adding and adjusting as you go, building layers. It's about adding details gradually. It's quite a fluid process, but that's such a great way to develop your eye and skills. Just keep looking at your overall drawing and adjust areas as you think necessary. Okay, I'm using a paper blending stump to blend. You could use a cotton bud or even tissue paper. The best way to use the blending stump is to do a very light circular motion. It blends the graphite a bit more than the dry brush, so helps create a really smooth effect. You can see this in the finished drawing. Keep using the blending stump to blend the layers. A mono zero eraser is really just a thin eraser. This thin highlight area helps enhance the realistic look. These are darker shadows on the lips, small rounded dips. Every so often I'm going over the highlights again with the Mono Zero eraser, as they'll gradually get covered in graphite from the other blending. I'm drawing a couple of tiny details on top of a few of the highlights. This gives a realistic effect. Keep alternating between shading, blending, and adding tiny details. It'll gradually build up into a really realistic effect. This area looks complex, but it's really just the same process. Areas of dark against areas of light. It's all about creating a striking contrast. I'm still using the 4B pencil. I'm shading this edge very lightly. I'm adding very thin lines here, which help give the effect of tiny lines in the skin along the lip edge. I'm drawing a few small horizontal lines across the lips too. A couple of extra highlights. Now the top lip, repeating the process. Notice I'm leaving a thin highlighted area at the far edge of the top lip. This helps with the glossy effect. Now some more blending with the blending stump. I'm softening all the transitions to create a really smooth effect. I'm creating some dark shadow around the opening of the lips to enhance the contour effect. Again, I'm drawing a dark line, then shading the edges to create depth and contour. Continuing to go over the highlight areas here with the Mono Zero eraser. A kneadable eraser is a good way to gently lighten some areas, just dabbing it onto the paper very lightly. still using 4B pencil here, continuing to shade the top lip. Just touching up the highlights again. I'm adding more shading on the inner edge to enhance the roundness of the lip. Notice how this highlight area has quite rough, jagged edges. I'm just going over some of these highlights with a sharp pencil to add a few details. Now enhancing the highlights a bit with the Mono Zero eraser, drawing some very thin lines. I'm now just looking around for any areas where I can enhance the contrast further by darkening shadows with the 4B pencil. making sure that all the texture is really well blended. I'm just darkening this bottom edge a bit. I'm using the dry brush, which has some graphite already absorbed on it from the earlier blending. This helps to add some light shading around the lips. I want to go a bit darker with this shading, so I'm using HB pencil to shade very lightly. Notice how I'm leaving a light area between the lip edge and the shading. I'm also using a blending stump around the edge to lightly blend after using the HB pencil. Continuing to use the dry brush to blend too. I want to go a bit darker, so I'm using 2B pencil. Now, HB pencil to shade the edge lightly, preserving that area of highlight on the lip edge. And blending with the blending stump and brush. I'm just adding a few final white lines with the eraser. Okay, almost done. Just a few final adjustments. As always, if you found this video helpful, feel free to leave a like and hit the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen for more videos like this. Let me know in the comments below if you have any requests or ideas for other drawing tutorials. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.